Good morning. Welcome back to Bookeemonsters. Trying to get my light set up. There it is. Knocking things down. Welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Wednesday. There we go. Except I look like I'm walking out of heaven. January the 7th, we're here to look at the new releases that are published this week. And on Wednesdays, we look at crime fiction and thrillers. Hope you're having a good day. Quick announcements. I don't have any sprints tonight. I don't do them on Wednesday night. Our next sprints are tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. They go for 2 hours every Tuesday and Thursday, and then for 5 hours on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I think we will have a show on Friday. I'll set that up. We do have some danglers from Monday. We'll probably have some danglers from today, so heads up on that. Let's jump in. And I need a glug of coffee. S.J. Rosen has a new one in the Lydia Chin Bill Smith mystery series. This is her 16th one. That's been going on for a while, and this is called First Do No Harm. With River Valley Hospital in the midst of negotiations to avert a nurses' strike, a wealthy benefactor is set to give a large donation in the honor of the Chief of Emergency Medicine, Dr. Elliot Chin, the brother of private investigator Lydia Chin. Before the donation can be finalized, a member of the nurses' negotiating committee is found murdered. A morgue assistant is arrested, and although he denies even knowing the victim, his father and brother, both doctors at the hospital, are quick to urge him to take a plea. What? Another negotiating committee member abruptly resigns, and a senior biomedical technician disappears. An officially off-limits section of the hospital basement turns out to be a hotbed of unauthorized and, in some cases, criminal activity. Hired by the arrested man's lawyer, Lydia Chin and her partner Bill Smith start to dig into the events and personnel at the hospital. Among the union disputes, blackmail, thefts, lies, and a detective who really doesn't like them, one thing becomes clear. The dictum to first do no harm is not in effect at River Valley. As time runs short, Lydia and Bill face a complicated and dangerous task. They must unlock the hospital's secrets to save an innocent man. I have fallen away from that series, but I read several of the first few. It's a good PI one, and for a while it was split into two separate series, but at some point later on they have combined. Illusion of Truth by James Letoile, third in the Detective Emily Hunter series. Sacramento detective Emily Hunter is exposed to inhumanity on a daily basis. It's the unfortunate baggage that comes with police work, and she's mostly learned how to shoulder the load, but it all turns personal when her fellow cop and boyfriend, Brian Connor, is caught in the blast of a targeted church bombing. Brian is gravely injured, suffering a traumatic brain injury, but the attacks don't stop there. Soon more officers come under fire, and Emily searches for a connection. She and her partner, Javier Medina, discover that Brian and the other injured officers share a common past, a past that now has them targeted for payback. Battling with heartbreak, Emily has to identify who's responsible for the string of attacks and stop them before there are more casualties. Will Brian ever be the same again? Probably not. Already grappling with her mother's progressing Alzheimer's, Emily can't bear the thought of losing both of the people she loves most. Though it feels impossible, Emily must stay focused on finding the criminals who uprooted her life and making sure that justice is served. The First Time I Saw Him by Laura Dave. It's a sequel to a show, The Last Thing He Told Me. That's a strange journey. How far would you go for a second chance? 5 years after her husband Owen disappeared, Hannah Hall and her stepdaughter Bailey have settled into a new life in Southern California. Together, they've forged a relationship with Bailey's grandfather Nicholas and putting the past behind them. But when Owen shows up at Hannah's new exhibition, she knows that she and Bailey are in danger again. Hannah and Bailey are forced to go on the run in a relentless race to keep their past from catching up with them. As a thrilling drama unfolds, Hannah risks everything to get Bailey to safety and finds there just might be a way back to Owen and their long-awaited second chance. The Invisible Woman by James Patterson and Susan Delalo. Part of the James Patterson world. No one sees her, but she sees everything. Eleanor Gilbert was once a young woman with a thriving career at the FBI. Now, decades past solving crimes with the Bureau, she's personally and professionally forgettable, which is exactly what her former FBI boss needs. He disguises Eleanor as a middle-aged nanny and casts her as an agent on the inside of his investigation into a New York art dealer suspected of ties to organized crime. But as Eleanor pushes towards the truth, her superpower, anonymity, morphs into a fatal flaw. The more the Invisible Woman integrates into her host family, the more dangerously memorable she becomes. End of row 1. Just checking on Keo. The Cheerleader by Marina Evans. The Dallas Lone Stars cheerleaders are untouchable. They are the epitome of glitz and glamour, reeking of hairspray and perfection. But everything changes when America's angel and cheerleading captain Gentry Ray Randall is found murdered in the squad's locker room. Filmmaker Nikki Keegan has the opportunity of a lifetime. Brought in to document the Lone Stars' potential comeback after 4 disastrous seasons, Nikki is now perfectly placed to investigate the murder of the team's iconic frontwoman. Nikki turns to cheerleader Shawnette Simmons, the deceased best friend, for help. As Nikki becomes closer to Shawnette, the more she suspects that Shawnette is hiding something. But when Shawnette is run off the road and left to die, it's clear that nobody on this cheer squad is safe, because some people would kill to be a Dallas Lone Star cheerleader, ... And it says the author, a former NFL cheerleader herself. So she knows all the behind-the-scenes stuff. She Took My Baby by Stina Holmes. I look after her children, but I know she stole mine. As a nanny for the wealthy Eatons, Trina watches every day as Rosalind Eaton cradles the baby close. Trina's baby. The sweet little boy won't settle. He never does in Rosalind's arms. It breaks Trina's heart to see the tiny tears falling down his fat cheeks. His glossy hair is light auburn and straight, nothing like the Eaton family's classic dark curls. Trina has been watching the Eatons for years, and what she knows about their dark past could be their undoing. Rosalind isn't coping. She isn't sleeping, and she's barely eating. It is Trina who rocks the baby in the dead of night, whispering soothing words of comfort. Surely Rosalind is just one step away from slipping up and revealing the truth Trina is so certain of. Trina's baby was stolen. The Eatons seem perfect, but they can't be trusted, and she'll do anything to get her baby back. James Rapondo has a new one, 20th in the Jack Switek series. Good for him. Good morning, Elijah. How you doing? This is called The Right to Remain. Miami criminal defense lawyer Jack Switek must contend with a unique problem. His client, Elliot Stafford, indicted for murder, has gone silent. Not just silent in asserting his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, Elliot refuses to speak. He won't talk to the judge, his girlfriend, or even the attorney fighting for his life. There seems to be no medical or psychological reason for his silence. He has, as Jack puts it, chosen to become his own worst enemy, or just, exercising his right. To some, it's an act of protest against a broken criminal justice system. Jack doesn't buy it. Undeterred by the hoopla and calls to walk away, he keeps his client and tries his best to save Elliot from himself. As he digs for facts, Jack discovers a much more disturbing reason for Elliot's silence. Virtually everything Elliot told Jack before the indictment is proving false, including Elliot's criminal history, family turmoil, and secret past. As Jack plunges deeper, he comes to believe that Elliot isn't trying to hide his own guilt. He may be protecting someone else, and the stakes could not be higher. It says plenty of courtroom action. Brad Meltzer has a new one. The Viper, third in the Escape Artist series. Ooh, cold cases, like it. Andrew Fetchmeyer is a master at hiding. He'd better be. He's spent decades concealing a secret that could get him killed. So when he's diagnosed with a terminal disease, he heads for the local funeral home carrying the blue suit he eventually wants to be buried in. But what no one knows is that Fetchmeyer secretly tucked something inside, turning the suit into a final, untraceable hiding spot. It's a perfect plan, until Fetch is brutally murdered by a mysterious killer who will stop at nothing to find the priceless object hidden in the suit. Must be pretty flat. Wasting no time, the cunning but unconventional Roddy LaPointe opens an investigation into Fetch's murder, recruiting help from his friend the brilliant Zig Zigorowski, but it doesn't take long for Zig to discover the real reason Roddy cares so much about this case. Fetch's death is tied to Roddy's mother, who was murdered decades earlier. As the relentless killer closes in, Roddy's twin sister, the enigmatic drinking game and volatile Nola Brown, starts investigating for herself, uncovering a sinister plot that reveals their mother's dark history, the true identity of her killer, and the shocking secret behind her death. Don't turn your back on the Viper. End of that row. Ava Roberts has a new one. The Perfect Replacement, third in the Thistler, it's not Thistle, it's the Thistler thrillers. Her daughter vanished without a trace, and everyone with the skills to find her has something to hide. 3 years of peaceful co-parenting convinced Finley that Calvin had finally changed, then he married Willa. Beautiful, devoted, and strangely eager to bond with Finley's daughter Campbell, Willa seems too good to be true. When Calvin starts pushing for extended custody and overseas trips, Finley's maternal instincts scream danger. But is the threat coming from Calvin or from the woman who's replaced her in every way? Then Campbell vanishes during a shopping trip with Willa. Security cameras fail. Ransom demands arrive from untraceable sources. Someone with sophisticated tech skills is orchestrating everything, but who? Finley finds herself caught between her AI ex-husband's unlimited resources, I don't know what that it looks like AI, but it doesn't make sense here. Unlimited resources and his new wife's perfect facade, unable to trust either. Every hour Campbell remains missing, the technology that was supposed to protect them becomes another weapon turned against Finley. Someone is always watching, always one step ahead, and Finley is running out of time to discover who's pulling the strings before her daughter disappears forever. The Reckoning by Kelly Stanley. First in a new series for her, the Renata Drake series. California, Southern Humboldt County, 1985. Renata Drake steps off a Greyhound bus and into small-town Garberville, hoping to disappear. She checks the papers. She's not headline news, not yet. But she's made a mistake. The FBI have the cannabis-producing Emerald Triangle town and its corrupt residents in their sights. Even worse, a teenage girl is missing, and when she turns up dead, the third in 3 years, it's clear a serial killer is living among them. Renata knows about murdered girls and the burning desire for justice and for revenge. Her younger sister Josie is gone, and now so is the man who killed her. Renata didn't stay in Washington, D.C. to be arrested for executing a murderer, and she shouldn't stay here either. But Renata decides to investigate, and what she uncovers will trigger a final reckoning for herself, for a killer, and for all of Southern Humboldt. The Redemption File by Mark Sinibaldi. That's a fun name. Sinibaldi. Detective Brandon Sidney is one of the most accomplished detectives in East Hill City, a thriving metropolis with its fair share of crime. Living in the wake of a personal tragedy, Sidney is dealt another emotional hardship when his partner and best friend, Derek Hill, is murdered. When evidence surfaces that shows Derek was on the take, Sidney must maneuver through an underworld of weapon smugglers, drug dealers, mob bosses, and rival cops to try and solve Derek's murder and clear his partner's tarnished name. If Sidney survives long enough to solve the case, it will push him to the edge of his own moral limitations and force him to confront his own traumatized past. Rachel Hawkins has a new one, The Storm. St. Medard's Bay, Alabama is famous for three things: the deadly hurricanes that regularly sweep into town, the Rosalie Inn, a centuries-old hotel that survived every one of those storms, and Lo Bailey, the local girl infamously accused of the murder of her lover, political scion Landon Fitzroy, during Hurricane Marie in 1984. When Geneva Corliss, the current owner of the Rosalie Inn, hears a writer's coming to town to research the crime that put St. Medard's Bay on the map, she's less interested in solving a whodunit than in how a successful true crime book might help the struggling inn's bottom line. But to her surprise, August Fletcher doesn't come to St. Medard's Bay alone. With him is none other than Lo Bailey herself. Lo says she's returned to her hometown to clear her name once and for all. But the closer Geneva gets to both Lo and August, the more she wonders if Lo is actually back to settle old scores. As the summer heats up and another monster storm begins twisting its way towards St. Medard's Bay, Geneva learns that some people can be just as destructive and as deadly as any hurricane, and that the truth of what happened to Landon Fitzroy may not be the only secret Lo is keeping. End of that row. What Boys Learn by Andromeda Romano Lax. There's a name. Over one terrible weekend, two teenage girls are found dead in a wealthy Chicago suburb. As the community mourns, Abby Rosso, the girls' high school counselor, begins to suspect that her son was secretly involved in their lives, and possibly their deaths. Abby doesn't want to believe Benjamin hurt anyone, but she's seen the warning signs before. 2 decades ago, her brother was in prison for a disturbing crime. He was only a little older than Benjamin is now. And Abby has more troubling memories from her own adolescence that confirm what boys and men are capable of. As Abby searches for the truth and what happened to her students, she's forced to face the question, has she been making excuses for Benjamin for years? And usually not that black and white. And girls do it too. Sorry. Wreck Your Heart. Wreck Your Heart by Lori Rader Day. She's a name. Dahlia Doll Divine had the kind of hard-scrabble beginning that could launch 1,000 broken-hearted country songs, but now she's the star of her own stage at McPhee's Tavern. As part of Chicago's country music scene, Dahlia is an up-and-coming singer in spangles and boots of classic country tunes. Up-and-coming, that is, until her boyfriend Joey up and went, taking the rent money with him. So Dahlia is back to square one, relying on Alex McPhee again. Alex helped her out of a bad situation when she was a kid living rough with her mother. Now he's part landlord, part band booster, all-around rescuer. It's just that Dahlia wishes she didn't keep giving him reasons to have to do it. Just as Dahlia suspects she scraped rock bottom, the mother she hasn't spoken to in 20 years shows up with something to say. The next morning, a distraught young woman arrives at the bar asking after her missing mother, Dahlia's mother, too, even if the missing suburban PTA mom the girl describes sounds pretty different from the one who let Dahlia down all those years ago. Though no one is using the word sister anytime soon, Dahlia lets herself be drawn into reuniting the family that might have been hers. But when a body is discovered outside McPhee's Tavern, the crime threatens not just the place Dahlia has made into a home, but everything she's believed about her past, her dreams for the future, and the people who was just maybe beginning to let into her heart. I was starting to wonder if this was in the right category. Then there was a body, finally. Not that we encourage that, but that's why we're here. The Star Society by Gabriella Saab. This is inspired by the indomitable spirit of Audrey Hepburn. A new name, a new country, and a coveted title as Hollywood's newest rising star. By 1946, actress Ada Worthington Fox has discarded the life she left in war-torn Arnhem, where she worked for the Dutch resistance before Gestapo imprisonment prompted her to flee her release. After release. But that life is thrust back into the spotlight when Ingrid, the sister she believed dead, shows up at her doorstep. Politically minded Ingrid escaped the Nazi invasion of Arnhem and fled to Washington, D.C., where she became a private investigator. Now she has been sent to root out communist influences in Hollywood. Her target, Ada Worthington Fox, the sister she long thought lost to her. Ingrid must hide her true purpose as she shields Ada from sneaky reporters, damaging rumors, and increasing threats, all while fighting to uncover which side her sister is truly on before Ingrid's efforts to help her are too late. Yet, Ada has her own mission, locating the Gestapo agent who terrorized her hometown and bringing him to justice. But delving into her past would risk alerting the press to a life too personal to expose. As the rising fear of communism threatens everyone, she turns to her sister, believing Ingrid's ties to Washington may be her only hope for success. That's in there because we also include spy stories. End of that row. Ugh. And the bell's about to ring. So, we have 3 more here on for Friday. Everybody remember where we parked? So, thank you guys for watching. It's kind of nice to be looking at new books again. And yeah, I do that. I don't do reviews. I don't tell you what I'm reading necessarily in one of those kind of vlogs, because everybody's taste is different. I just want to know what's out there for me to read. So and nobody else is doing this. So that's why I do stuff like this, because you don't know what's out there until you look. Alright, hope you guys have a good Wednesday. Be safe, read good books, and as the banner says, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.